Welcome into Off the Hook Sports. I am your host, Caleb Calhoun. A lot to get to today. We are going to discuss the news surrounding Nico Iamaleava. For those who aren't aware, Nico Iamaleava went to a UCLA game during the season last year for Tennessee. I think this news is should be bigger than it is. I'm going to discuss what was said about that. Also, is Tennessee going to show any new offensive wrinkles on Saturday against Syracuse? Will they need to? That's kind of a debate. We don't know yet. That's the poll question. That'll be today's tough question. We're going to lead with that. We're going to talk about that first. What about the key Syracuse players to watch for against Tennessee? We roll on with that after giving you the key Vols from yesterday. So we're going to talk about the key Syracuse players. Picks and bets week 2. Just like last year, I am off to a horrible start on my picks and bets, but I don't quit. I keep going. I like to lose as much money as possible before it's all said and done. So I'm not going to quit on my picks and bets. I will give you my picks and bets again for week 1. It's actually not week 2, but it's for week 1 after my week 0 picks and bets have been an utter and complete failure. I acknowledge. Still, a lot of fun, a lot of things to get to. Beyond that, beyond the week 1 picks and bets, we are going to get to news that the SEC and Big Ten both want UNC and Virginia. I told you guys this was going to happen, and I was right. There will be a bidding war for them, and I will tell you why. That's going to be interesting to see how it goes, but I'm telling you guys, there's a bidding war, and it's a big one. So hit that like and subscribe button, ring the bell, turn on your notifications, tell a friend. We are building something great here, and we want at Off the Hook Sports, we want you to be a part of it. Let's get rolling with today's tough question. I have it on good authority that Tennessee is going to throw new wrinkles in its offensive scheme this year that they haven't shown the last few years. There are a few reasons for this. 1, the 3-3-5 shell defense has become a way to slow down the hypo passing attack, and Tennessee wants to hit you deep. Missouri first debuted it in 2023, and then everybody followed suit in 2024, which is why Tennessee kept it on the ground, but they want to be able to throw it more. The other part of this is Tennessee has a quarterback with more moxie, willing to take more risk, and also more willing to throw it over the middle, who processes more quickly than the last 2 starting quarterbacks they had did. With those 2 things in mind, there will be new things in the offense this year. I can just tell you that up front. However, when will they reveal those new wrinkles? Should Tennessee reveal those new wrinkles when they face Syracuse on Saturday? That is today's tough question. It's brought to you by Banks & Jones, Tennessee's trial attorneys. Play to win. Why settle? Banks & Jones, led by T. Scott Jones, banksandjones.com. And that is up as the poll question. The poll question is this: should the Vols reveal any new wrinkles in their offensive scheme on Saturday? Yes, show what they've got. No, they won't need to. Tennessee's schedule obviously starts off with Syracuse on Saturday, and then they play ETSU the next week. So assuming they don't need to when they play Syracuse on Saturday, they won't need to until they play Georgia, which would be the goal. However, a bunch of simulations have been run for this Tennessee-Syracuse game, guys, and there is a strong possibility that Syracuse makes this a game. Not because they're on Tennessee's level. Long-term, they won't be. But the 98 Syracuse team wasn't on the 98 Tennessee team's level, and they put up a fight against Tennessee in that first game. Tennessee was still getting the offense going with T. Martin. They weren't ready to show everything yet. They relied heavily on Jamal Lewis, and they weren't ready to open things up, and they just barely got out of there with the win, for those who don't remember. I actually think the gap in talent between Tennessee and Syracuse is roughly the same right now that it was in 1998. Now, many of you are going to say, what? Syracuse was significantly better in 98 than they are this year. That's true. So was Tennessee. Okay, so yes, Syracuse was significantly better in 98 than they are this year. However, Tennessee was significantly better in 98 than they are this year too. So a Big East champion in Syracuse is like a 7-5 ACC team, 8-4 ACC team in Syracuse this year, which they're more than capable of doing. This year's Tennessee team would not stand a chance against the 98 Tennessee team. So again, the gap is similar, which is why this game could be much closer than it's needed. If that's the case, will they need to show some of their new wrinkles? That is one of the questions. The other one is this, and this is a big reason. Part of making defenses adjust to what you're doing is showing your new wrinkles. You want them to have to prepare for that. Doesn't Tennessee want Georgia to prepare for their wrinkles that they have in their new offense? Or do they want to surprise them? That's kind of how you're going to go with this. You don't know which way to go because you want to have to open up what you have to prepare for, but you also want to disguise some of your scripted plays and your new wrinkles, which is, by the way, again, has been brought up. Tennessee brought in Seth Littrell as an offensive analyst that this offseason. This is a big reason why they wanted to work these things out. Now, here's where I lean. I think you keep it close to the vest. I think you try your best not to reveal anything if you can help it. And here's why. And this is a big reason why. I think Georgia, you're not going to beat them by forcing them to have to prepare for more things. They'll just prepare for more things. Kirby Smart's a defensive genius, and he has the players to do it. Your best way to beat them is to throw things at them that they haven't seen before. So you want to throw things at them that they haven't seen before, meaning try your best to not show anything this weekend when you face off with them, because otherwise you could be in trouble. Today's tough question brought to you by Banks & Jones, Tennessee's trial attorney. Play to win. Why settle? Led by T. Scott Jones, banksandjones.com.
Why Banks & Jones? Well, it's because they're Tennessee's trial attorney. You can play to win with Banks & Jones because they'll go to trial. You've heard of other lawyers. They say they'll go to trial and fight for you. They won't. They just want to settle. That's the easiest way out. Well, that's not Banks & Jones, led by T. Scott Jones. They won't settle. They'll go to trial for you. Tennessee's trial attorney. They play to win. Truly, Tennessee's trial attorney when it comes to criminal defense or personal injury. Why settle? It's Banks & Jones. T. Scott Jones. banksandjones.com.
The poll question up: should the Vols reveal any new wrinkles in their offensive scheme on Saturday? Yes, show what they've got, 29%. No, they won't need to, is at 71%. I'm with the 71%. I don't think they will need to. I think that'll keep it closer than it needs to be, but I maintain that they still won't need to. Steve Sullivan says it's a long season. Keep a few in your pocket. That is very, very true. Randy says it doesn't win. It doesn't matter as long as you win. But Randy, you want to win, but you also got to think long-term throughout the season. And you're not good enough to beat Georgia. Tennessee talent-wise is not good enough to beat Georgia. They have to out-scheme to beat Georgia. Part of out-scheming is throwing things at them that they're not ready for. Derek adds, they might be able to slow the run in the first half. I believe we'll see the run game pop by the third quarter, but I wouldn't be surprised to see a slow start and a lot of new players at important skill spots. Exactly. I agree. I think Derek, that it'll kind of be like last year's offense that would sputter in the first half and really get going on the ground in the second half. David Speaks, who brought up the Seth Littrell point, and Landry Jones also says, you're trying to contradict me when you say, when I point out that Syracuse had Donovan McNabb, when you say Syracuse had Donovan McNabb and Dwight Freeney in 98. Well, that is true, which would hint that, yes, Syracuse was a much tougher out than 98. I'm not here to deny that either, and I'll even bolster your point. They also had Keith Bullock, although Dwight Freeney was, I believe, just a freshman. But still, Dwight Freeney, Donovan McNabb, and Keith Bullock. However, what you're leaving out is how much more Tennessee had in 98. Tennessee had a 2,000-yard rusher at running back, a future NFL 2,000-yard rusher at running back. They had a future all-pro linebacker, Noah Wilson. They had a long-time starting NFL wide receiver in Peerless Price. They had a multi-time Pro Bowl offensive lineman in Chad Clifton, another future NFL starter on the offensive line in Kosi Coleman. They were just that Tennessee team was super loaded. Everywhere you look, they had a future NFL Pro Bowler in Sean Ellis. I mean, they had a future NFL starter and an All-American at the time in Deion Grant. They had a guy who was good enough to be a future NFL Pro Bowler and quarterback Dwayne Goodrich with an outside of, didn't have him because of an unfortunate legal situation. But yes, Syracuse was more loaded with that talent in 98. Tennessee was even more loaded, though. Tennessee had insane talent that year. So yeah, it wasn't. That's why I say the gaps are similar. at that point. But I don't think Tennessee is going to have to throw the kitchen sink as used by General Ursus. I don't think Tennessee is going to have to throw that at Syracuse on Saturday. So I maintain that you stick with your vanilla offense for 2 weeks until you have to face off with Georgia the third week of the season. That's obviously the most important game. And also, conference standings matter a lot now in the expanded playoff. That's going to be a big thing. So with that in mind, I just think that in general, you don't show a lot. Now, if it gets to the fourth quarter and you are in some trouble, maybe you have to show some wrinkles. Maybe that's when it happens. But I would say overall, I think you do your best to not reveal anything if you can help it. Portions of the program are brought to you by Chattanooga Mortgage. Congratulations, your home search just got easier. Buying a home in Chattanooga has never been easier. Chat with 2tsmortgage.com. Chat with 2tsmortgage.com. It is time for What the H? And it involves Nico Iamaleava, the story that never dies. But I'm sorry, I can't let this one slide. Nico Iamaleava revealed in a press conference ahead of UCLA's opener this weekend, where he will start against Montana State. Not against Montana State, where he will start against that Oregon's playing Montana State, where he will start against Utah. Nico Iamaleava revealed that he visited he went to a UCLA game last year during Tennessee's bye week. Why is this relevant? That game was September the 28th when Oregon beat UCLA 34-13. A week later, Tennessee lost to Arkansas, and Iamaleava played horrendous. Now, at the time, Madden Iamaleava was committed to UCLA. He wasn't on the team. He had flipped to Arkansas in the fall. They both transferred back to UCLA later in the spring. Was UCLA tampering with Iamaleava as early as September of last year? That is What the H. It's brought to you by Rick Terry Jewelry Designs. Looking for affordable game day jewelry, a Tennessee tradition. They want to be your jeweler. Rick Terry Jewelry Designs. rickterryjewelry.com. Guys, this is kind of a huge deal. I don't know if we're paying attention enough to this. Nico Iamaleava revealing he went to the UCLA game last year, the week before Tennessee played horrible against Arkansas. I get it. You get a week off during that time or a bye week, but that's kind of a big time change, and we don't know how long he was there. And again, he played horrendous the next week. I have been highly critical to this day of Philip Fulmer for letting Travis Stevens and John Henderson fly to New York for the awards, the annual College Football Awards ceremony at the end of the regular season, which they did on Thursday before the SEC title game in 2001 after they beat Florida. Both of them had a bad game on Saturday. Travis Stevens had a key fumble in the third quarter in that game, and John Henderson was part of an interior defensive line that couldn't stop a quarterback draw. That was the best defensive interior line. That was the best interior defensive line in the history of college football with Henderson and Albert Hainsworth, and they couldn't stop the quarterback draw with Matt Muck when he came in. With that in mind, I always blame Philip Fulmer for letting them fly to New York when they were preparing for the SEC title game, because that was a game to go to the national title. Nico Iamaleava going to UCLA during that off week, I mean, I wouldn't have thought much of it at the time, but now it rings. It sounds really suspicious. Does anybody else believe it sounds suspicious? Am I just spitballing here? Am I just pulling things out of you know what? Because I'm having a really hard time with the thought that Nico Iamaleava actually went to a UCLA game, played horrible the next week in a loss, and then transferred to UCLA during the all season. That really stands out in a bad way, honestly. I mean, in a really bad way. Again, you guys tell me if I'm overreacting here, but I don't think so. I'm going to set that up as the poll question. Nico Iamaleava attending a UCLA game the week before losing to Arkansas, attending a UCLA game the week before the Vols. How about this? Nico Iamaleava attending UCLA game during the Vols by a week before UT lost at Arkansas is suspicious. No big deal. It was a bye. You guys go ahead and vote on that. I leaning it was suspicious. What the H brought to you by Rick Terry Jewelry Designs. Looking for affordable game day jewelry, a Tennessee tradition. They want to be your jeweler. RickTerryJewelry.com.
Having been in the jewelry industry for a long time in the Knoxville community, I saw a need for a jeweler, a real jeweler.
Our ability to do these designs has really been based on the customers bringing new things in and challenging us as a store. Our goal is not to tell anybody what they want. Our goal is to listen to what they want and then help them get there.
Schedule your consultation today to get your special someone the perfect custom gift just in time for the holidays.
The poll question up. Nico Iamaleava attending a UCLA game during the Vols bye week before UT lost at Arkansas is suspicious. No big deal. It was a bye. 82% saying it was suspicious. I agree. It was highly suspicious and was UCLA tampering. This is something that honestly, I think, again, I don't even mind tampering. I defend tampering. I'll just be honest with you. But it's weird that Nico Iamaleava was looking into this during the season. I'm not going to blame UCLA for this. I'm blaming the Iamaleava family. I'm also blaming Tennessee for not nipping it in the bud when it happened, because honestly, there is no excuse to have allowed that to happen if they did that. That should have been a red flag right there. If they did let that happen and Tennessee wasn't aware of it, well, honestly, I think Iamaleava should be absolutely ashamed of himself if that's the case. Because quite honestly, look, Nico Iamaleava, Josh Heupel has let a lot slide, I think. I think Josh Heupel has let absolutely a lot slide. And truth be told, by letting so much slide, and that includes with Iamaleava, the Boo Carter situation and things like that, I think he let some players display too much individualism, and he's been unable to get it back after he lost it. It's been a big, big, big problem. And truth be told, I think it has caused some issues within the locker room. This is a big one. Letting Iamaleava go to a UCLA game the week before the Arkansas game and then getting blindsided by them transferring to UCLA, they truly did not nip this in the bud the way they should have. So, honestly, I genuinely think that Iamaleava should be Tennessee. Honestly, not Iamaleava. Josh Heupel and Tennessee should be absolutely ashamed of this themselves if they let this happen, because there is no way you should sit there and let Iamaleava go to UCLA, tamper with UCLA, and then end up going to UCLA. There's just something very suspicious about that. And honestly, I think Iamaleava in Tennessee, I think Iamaleava, it's looking more and more like he played Tennessee. And honestly, the fact that Tennessee let him play them like that is a really, really, really bad look for them. And I don't know if there's there's just no way you can defend that. And I'm saying that from Heupel's perspective. It just doesn't look good for Heupel or Tennessee that they were able to get played like that by the Iamaleava family. You can give them credit for taking a stand in the end, but again, that UCLA game is a real, very suspicious. To the message board on this, Danny McAllister says he took a pay cut. Doesn't make sense. Well, he thought he could strong arm and he played himself. James Ferreth says that just shows how dumb the Nico family is. They are looking dumber by the day. Randy says Tennessee knew, in my opinion. I think so too. I think they were aware that Nico was strong arming them. Steve says the fact that Nico wasn't a team player showed last season with his lackluster play. totally agree. General Ursus says Tennessee came out the winner in the situation. You're right, General Ursus, they did. But it is weird that Josh Heupel let that slide throughout the season. I think that's what is really standing out about this. And the fact that Nico Iamaleava would volunteer this information, look, that's what really stands out to me, is that Nico Iamaleava would even volunteer this information. It shows how bad they are at PR. I mean, I told you, Nico Iamaleava told a story on why he transferred that contradicted his family's official story, which came out way after Tennessee controlled the narrative, according to Joel Klatt. And now he's volunteering information that makes him even look worse. He's terrible at PR. Again, that helps Tennessee, but it's not that I want to say this is more proof. It's not that Tennessee's controlling the narrative. It's that the Iamaleava family is bad at PR, and that showed here. Portions of the program are brought to you by Hemp House, the premier hemp dispensary. Online with a wide variety, great selection, and strict standards. Hemp House Chat with 2Ts.com, Hemp House Chat with 2Ts.com. Use the promo code HOOKED for 10% off. When we come back, the key Syracuse players to watch for against Tennessee. Stick with us, 2 minutes off the Hook Sports.
Why Banks & Jones? Well, it's because they're Tennessee's trial attorney. You can play to win with Banks & Jones because they'll go to trial. You've heard of other lawyers. They say they'll go to trial and fight for you. They won't. They just want to settle. That's the easiest way out. Well, that's not Banks & Jones, led by T. Scott Jones. They won't settle. They'll go to trial for you. Tennessee's trial attorney. They play to win. Truly, Tennessee's trial attorney when it comes to criminal defense or personal injury. Why settle? It's Banks & Jones. T. Scott Jones. BanksandJones.com.
Hello, ma'am. I'm here to look at that plumbing problem.
Oh boy. Yep, you're gonna need a whole new sink.
If this toilet is no good, you're gonna need a new one ASAP. You are not gonna believe this. You're all out of milk. Have you heard about our service plan?
I need to call Scott's.
Scott's Plumbing, your trusted neighborhood plumber since 1977.
Community banking is about location and much more. It's about family. We reside in your community. We are a part of your community. At Commercial Bank, our commitment extends beyond the walls of our branches. It's displayed each day in the opportunities we provide, the money we give back, and the time we commit, all to help improve the lives of the people, families, and businesses that make our communities great. Commercial Bank, life made better.
Having been in the jewelry industry for a long time in the Knoxville community, I saw a need for a jeweler, a real jeweler.
Our ability to do these designs has really been based on the customers bringing new things in and challenging us as a store. Our goal is not to tell anybody what they want. Our goal is to listen to what they want and then help them get there.
Schedule your consultation today to get your special someone the perfect custom gift just in time for the holidays.
Welcome back to Off the Hook Sports. Hit that like and subscribe button. Ring the bell. Turn on your notifications. As I always say, building something great here at Off the Hook Sports. And want you to be a part of it. We continue our coverage with who Tennessee has to watch for when they faced Syracuse over the weekend. As you guys know, Tennessee is going to face Syracuse on Saturday, and there's a lot of unknowns about Syracuse. So, when Tennessee faces Syracuse on Saturday, they will be facing a team that has to replace more starters than any other team in the SEC, which is wild when you think about it. They have to replace more starters than any other team in the SEC, or in the ACC, excuse me. Any other team in the ACC. With that in mind, Tennessee has their hands full only in the sense that we don't know what to make of this team. The Vols also have to replace a lot of players this year, more than most, making this game, despite Tennessee being favored, highly unpredictable, one of the most unpredictable games in football this week. With that in mind, who are the key Syracuse players that Tennessee needs to watch out for? That is 4 Downs. It is brought to you by Ted Russell Ford, your home for the finest vehicles in Knoxville. New and used, East Tennessee's largest Ford and Lincoln volume dealer, Ted Russell Ford. Remember, we broadcast live from the Ted Russell Ford studio. All right, who are the key players to watch for on Syracuse this week? 5 orange to watch. And before we get started, everybody hashtag DH. We are hoping Dave Hooker gets better. He's out with a very serious personal issue right now. And because of that, I don't have the soundboard that Dave Hooker typically uses to use Cooper Mays' voice to tee us off on 4 Downs. So I just do the imitation of Cooper Mays' voice until we get him back. So, Cooper Mays here. Hit like and subscribe. Cooper Mays just asked you guys all to hit like and subscribe. Please do what Cooper Mays asked. All right. Let's get rolling. Coop here. First down. First down. The key player for Tennessee to watch. It's a tie because it's 2 receivers. Jonte Thomas and Daryl Gill Jr. Both are key for different reasons. Syracuse has to replace their 4 leading receivers from last year. The one returning producer that they have at receiver from last year is Daryl Gill Jr., who had 31 catches for 570 yards and 2 touchdowns as the 4th receiver. Ready to step into the role. He has a lot of promise, a lot of talent. Daryl Gill is, if you are wondering, a true wideout. He's 6'3", 190. He averaged 18.4 yards per reception last year. So when he did make catches, he was very effective with the ball. As a result, he is going to be a key player for Syracuse this year. He is probably their most important returning weapon on offense. He's their most important returning player, maybe, in terms of returning starters on offense in general. So Daryl Gill is one of them. The other one, though, is Jonte Thomas. And so while Daryl Gill's experience leads you to believe he's going to be the go-to player for Syracuse this year, not Jonte Thomas. I don't know why I said that. I apologize. Jonte Cook. Jonte Cook is the other key player for Syracuse. Jonte Cook does not have the same production experience that Daryl Gill has, as he was at Texas the last 2 years, 8 catches for 136 yards as a freshman, 8 catches for 137 yards, but 2 touchdowns as a sophomore. Cook stands at 6 feet, 198 pounds, but he was once a 5-star recruit. He's the weapon with all the elite potential. That's the guy that you really need to pay attention to, Jonte Cook. Jonte Cook is a huge elite weapon, and I think that's probably one of the biggest stories of the day. Jonte Cook, again, a very, very elite weapon out here. So with that in mind, I am extremely high on him. And Daryl Gill Jr., don't sleep on Syracuse's passing attack just because they lost all of their receivers. That would not be a smart move. I firmly believe that Syracuse will be in great shape with that in mind. So again, don't sleep on Syracuse at all in that passing attack. Cooper Mays here. Second down. Oh, thank you, Coop. All right, second down from Cooper Mays. We got to go defense. Another returning player that is key for them. Deuce Chestnut. Now, Deuce Chestnut was a breakout cornerback for Syracuse in 2021. Is a very experienced player. Okay, he's entering his 5th year with the program. He was freshman All-American as a cornerback. Honorable mention All-ACC as a sophomore cornerback. Went to LSU and redshirted, transferred back to Syracuse. Okay. Yes, transferred back to Syracuse and after redshirting at LSU. So that's where he has that 5th year of eligibility. But this time transferring back to Syracuse in 2024 under a different coach, Fran Brown, moved over to safety. Last year was his first year at safety. He didn't get the accolades he got at cornerback, but he has the talent, has the potential, and he should be elite now with more experience. He had 62 tackles, 3.5 tackles for a loss, a sack, 1 forced fumble, 5 pass breakups. Did come down with an interception. This is who Joey Aguilar is going to have to watch out for. He's their strong safety whenever he's throwing the ball. Because Duke Chestnut is going to be the guy that will be all over the field. And they got to pay attention to him because he could be brutal for them. All right. Tennessee Center Cooper Mays here. 3rd down. Well, thank you, Coop. Okay. David Reese. David Reese is a defensive end who is in his 8th year of eligibility for college football. How did he get his 8th year? Well, I will explain. He took a red shirt in 2018. Then he committed to Florida, by the way, out of high school. Dan Mullen specifically. Took a red shirt in 2018 as a freshman. 2019 suffered a season-ending injury, which allowed him an injury red shirt. Then, at Florida, played in 2020, saw action in 5 games, didn't record any stats, and suffered another season-ending injury, and it was COVID, so it didn't count against his eligibility, and he got another injury redshirt in 2021, not playing at all that year. So technically, his redshirt freshman year, guys, was 2022, where he played every game. Then he transferred to Cal, was 4th team All Pac-12 in 2023, an honorable mention by coaches of playing in 13 games. Last year, breakout season at Cal. Played in 11 games, had 22 tackles, 7.5 tackles for a loss, 4.5 sacks, 2 forced fumbles, and 2 pass breakups. And is now transferred to Syracuse for his 8th year of eligibility. Tennessee has 4 new offensive linemen. They will be tested up front. David Reese is the guy that is going to be testing them up front. Watch out for David Reese. I think that's the wild one. David Reese, again, is going to be a brutal player for them to handle. I mean, he's a man amongst boys, literally. So watch out for David Reese. 4 Downs is brought to you by, again, Ted Russell Ford Lincoln, your home for the finest vehicles in Knoxville. New and used, East Tennessee's largest Ford and Lincoln volume dealer. 4th down coming up next.
A beacon of hope in a world of high prices. Look to the skies, Knoxville. Super savings is here. Ted Russell Ford is East Tennessee's #1 volume Ford dealer.
Right now, get 0% APR, 0 down, and 0 payments for 90 days on select models, plus 2 years complimentary maintenance.
Come see the super dealer today at either Ted Russell Ford location, Parkside Drive, or Kingston Pike.
All SEC Center Cooper Mays here. 4th down. The obvious one is quarterback Steve Angeli. Steve Angeli won the starting job for Syracuse to replace Kyle McCord, who had such a great first season for the Orange when they went 10-3 under Fran Brown. Angeli has been with Notre Dame the last 3 years, mostly getting garbage time, but he has completed 72.5% of his passes for 772 yards, 10 touchdowns, and is averaging 9.7 yards per attempt. He's a pro-style drop-back passer. He beat out Ricky Collins Jr., who was initially projected the starter when he got to Syracuse, transferring from LSU in the spring. So for Angeli to win this job now, it's a big deal. Tennessee really will have to watch out for him. He could be really dangerous. He's a dangerous player, and they don't know fully what they're getting, but the guy is very accurate and has some weapons. So Steve Angeli is going to be the quarterback they need to watch out for him. Portions of the program are brought to you by Hound Dogs of Knoxville. Champions look good in orange. hdknoxville.com, hdknoxville.com. And it is time for this day in Tennessee football history, or Tennessee sports history. And it's actually an interesting one. On this day, 6 years ago, after his career seemed in serious jeopardy, Tennessee football offensive lineman Trey Smith was cleared to play from his blood clots and has never had that issue since. He went on to become an all-SEC starter, 2 more years at Tennessee, and has become an elite NFL offensive lineman who just recently signed a long-term deal, a $94 million extension with Kansas City in July. It's so fitting that I bring this up after he got his $94 million extension with the Chiefs, which includes $70 million in guaranteed, making him the highest paid guard in the NFL with the Kansas City Chiefs, all stemming from when he started at Tennessee in college. It was on this day 6 years ago that he got the clean bill of health to play, and we all are happy about Trey Smith getting that for that. This Day in Tennessee History is brought to you by Joe Neuber Collision Center. For nearly 50 years, Neuber Collision Center has been East Tennessee's best choice for quality repair work and fantastic customer service. JoeNeuberCollision.com.
Now in its 45th year, the second and third generations continue Joe Neubert's commitment.
His vision of what this business needed to be, we still try to live up to that.
Joe Neubert Collision Center.
Hit that like and subscribe button. Ring the bell. Turn on your notifications. Once again, we are broadcast live from the Ted Russell Ford Lincoln studio. Ted Russell Ford Lincoln is your home for the finest vehicles in Knoxville, new and used. Tennessee's largest Ford and Lincoln volume dealer. The show represented by Banks & Jones, Tennessee's trial attorney. Play to win. Why settle? Banks & Jones, led by T. Scott Jones. BanksandJones.com. When we come back, we will discuss news that the SEC and Big Ten both want UNC and Virginia, and our picks and bets. Stick with us. 2 minutes off the hook sports.
It's a new year, a new day, and Ted Russell Lincoln has an exciting new offer to share. Right now, get a 2024 Lincoln Navigator with 0% APR for 72 months and up to $4,000 in bonus cash. Or drive away in a new 2024 Lincoln Corsair Grand Touring with 0% APR for 60 months and up to $4,500 in bonus cash. It's time to get excited about the ride. Come and see what a luxury car experience truly is at Ted Russell Lincoln, Knoxville.
Hello, ma'am. Here to look at that plumbing problem?
Oh boy. Yep. You're gonna need a whole new sink.
If this toilet is no good, you're gonna need a new one ASAP. You are not gonna believe this. You're all out of milk. Have you heard about our service plan?
I need to call Scott's.
Scott's Plumbing, your trusted neighborhood plumber since 1977.
Having been in the jewelry industry for a long time in the Knoxville community, I saw a need for a jeweler, a real jeweler.
Our ability to do these designs has really been based on the customers bringing new things in and challenging us as a store. Our goal is not to tell anybody what they want. Our goal is to listen to what they want and then help them get there.
Schedule your consultation today to get your special someone the perfect custom gift just in time for the holidays.
Sports Treasures in North Knoxville is one of the South's largest sports cards and memorabilia dealers, featuring over 10 million sports cards from vintage to modern. Sports Treasures carries a full line of hobby boxes, singles, autographed memorabilia, Tennessee Vol collectibles, fan cave decorations, and so much more. See a museum full of collectibles at Sports Treasures, 4819 North Broadway in Fountain City, and Sports Treasures on Facebook. Sports Treasures, where the real sports fan goes to shop.
Welcome back to Off the Hook Sports. Hit that like and subscribe button. Ring the bell. Turn your notifications on. We continue our coverage with more news surrounding the SEC. Brett McMurphy is reporting that North Carolina and Virginia are extremely attractive to the SEC and to the Big Ten. This comes on the heels of Maryland Athletic Director James Smith saying he could envision the Big Ten having 20 teams in the near future. McMurphy responds, I don't know about you guys. I was surprised you didn't say 24 because I think you know that kind of what Andy laid out. I think we're going to be 20 or 24 with the SEC and the Big Ten. The question is, what is going on with the Big 12 and the ACC, and are they going to be allowed to be part of that group? I think it's very clear. Look, after I reported this morning, I immediately got a text from someone within the SEC and basically said what I've been thinking, and that is North Carolina and Virginia will be highly contested between both conferences. I predicted this 2 years ago, that there would be a bidding war for UNC and Virginia. Now, here's the biggest reason is, while the SEC thinks mostly about monetary value, and that's understandable, they have wanted to have a presence in every state of the old Confederacy for a long time now. And Virginia and North Carolina are the last two states that would fit that bill. That's the only states of the old Confederacy that they don't have a presence in. Those are the two most desirable schools from those two places. Now, if you look at the ACC schools that generate revenue that make them comparable to the SEC, this is going to shock some of you guys. Virginia is very close to being in that category, believe it or not. Virginia generates a lot of revenue, and a lot of people don't realize that. They are very, very, very close. And with that in mind, I think a lot of people aren't really aware of just how much revenue Virginia generates. They're almost on par with Florida State. The primary schools that are revenue drivers in the ACC are Florida State, Clemson, Miami, and then Virginia. Yes, Virginia is in that category. To just a lesser degree is Louisville and UNC. So yes, I think whenever they can, they would go, the SEC would go all out for Virginia, and they would go for UNC. UNC and Virginia are also AAU schools. The Big Ten would love to add them too. They could expand a little further south. That gives some more regional rivalries from Maryland, and Rutgers and Penn State, who are in the Big Ten, obviously. So with all this in mind, I'm going to tell you guys this right now. And this is Bank on It, brought to you by Commercial Bank member FDIC, Life Made Better. The SEC and Big Ten are going to have an all-out battle to land UNC and Virginia in the near future. Bank on it.
Commercial Bank is your neighborhood bank. What makes us different from other banks? We understand that every customer has unique opportunities, challenges, and financial concerns. We don't expect you to fit into the same box as the next person or business. Whether it's purchasing a home, saving for your child's future, or planning for your next vacation, we're with you every step of the way to navigate life's big decisions. Commercial Bank. Life made better.
Bank on it. Bank on it. The SEC is going to fight like hell for UNC and Virginia, and so will the Big Ten. The question is, who's going to win? Because both of them want them. If they don't get them, both have options. The Big Ten's options are they can actually expand further west if they want to get to 20 teams, because they could add a school in Arizona and a school they could add Colorado, and then they would border. Even though they'd be coast to coast, they'd still be bordering in every state by that point. The states would be fully congruent. The SEC also has options, though. Less desirable ones. The SEC wants to stay congruent and get into the old Confederacy. What would they do then? The SEC would add Virginia Tech and NC State. Now, if the SEC wants to get to 20 teams, they'll go add Florida State and Clemson too. This is all assuming the ACC breaks up. Guys, the ACC is going to be done in 2030, whatever. And that's happening. There's a lot of ways to envision this. Let's get this out of the way first. Florida State and Clemson are going to the SEC. It's going to happen. The question will be what happens with Miami, Virginia, and North Carolina. The bidding war will be UVA and UNC. I think the Big Ten is going to win that bidding war. I think they will just have more to offer them because of the payouts of playing in that conference, and I think they're going to open the checkbook for it. I know that's unfortunate for people to hear, but I genuinely think the Big Ten's going to win that bidding war, and I think that it's just a more desirable conference right now if you are a school. One, Virginia would feel like they fit culturally with the Big Ten anyway. They are barely a Southern school, if any of you guys have been there. All right, it's not culturally Southern, Charlottesville, at all. Okay? UNC is a little different, but Raleigh could feel comfortable in the Big Ten, particularly if Virginia goes. Now, the other catch is UNC and Duke are typically inextricably tied together. So where one goes, the other goes. And UNC has a pact with NC State to make sure that if they go somewhere bigger than the ACC, NC State's not left out in the dust. Now, whether that means NC State goes to the Big 12 or NC State somehow gets into the SEC, UNC would make sure that would happen. These are pacts and agreements between schools in different states. We don't know what is going to happen with that. But let's just throw some things out. UNC and Virginia, here's how I think this plays out. And I just think this is the natural progression of things. I think the Big Ten wins the bidding war for UNC and Virginia. The SEC counters by adding Florida State, Clemson, NC State, and Virginia Tech. Both schools were at 20. I think the SEC takes it a step further. They don't want the Big Ten expanding into Florida territory. So the SEC is going to go after Miami. They might actually go after Miami over Florida State, which will get them to 21 teams. And then they'll have to probably, to have an even conference, they'll have to add another one or maybe even get up to 24. I think in the counter to that, the Big Ten will try to keep its invitation open to Notre Dame. They won't get them. So they're going to expand west, add Arizona, add an Arizona school, add Colorado, and add a school in the San Francisco area, Stanford or Cal, to be in like every market. That'll get them to 24. Guys, this is going to be a big fight. This is going to be very interesting to see how this all plays out. But you're probably going to see 24 teams to a conference in the near future. And the exciting thing about that, I actually don't think it's as bad as people think. The leftovers will go to the Big 12 and the ACC, and they'll combine to be one conference. What's kind of exciting is that once you get these mega conferences, they can come to an agreement themselves, a centralized agreement, and they can create conferences within the conference, which is, I think, the best way to do this going forward. They could restore the old Pac-12. I think the SEC and Big Ten could be like NL and AL, but then they restore all the old conferences on their own. So with that in mind, I actually think this could be very exciting. Now, again, you guys keep bringing up Georgia Tech. A lot of you I see on the message boards. I don't think the SEC is going to welcome Georgia Tech back. The one thing, Georgia Tech's best bet is to go to the Big 12 or, and this is a big one, go to the Big 10. Why would they go to the Big 10? They're an AAU school. If the Big 10 gets UNC and Virginia, they might want to expand all the way south, at which point they would add Georgia Tech and Miami on top of that. Don't even count this out, guys. The Big 10 just could go for all the AAU schools at that point and have a 30-team conference. How would that work? Stanford and Cal, Arizona and Arizona State, Colorado and Kansas, and Utah. Those are 7 schools out west they could add, just right off the top of my head, which would get them to 25 teams. On the east side, Virginia, North Carolina, Duke, Georgia Tech, South Florida, Miami. That gets them to 29 teams. Who else are they looking at? Notre Dame. At that point, they could get so powerful they could add Notre Dame. That would get them to 30 teams. I'm not done. There's other AAU schools to a lesser degree that they won't care about as much, but they could add them. That includes Pittsburgh. Yeah, they could add Pittsburgh, which would get them to 31 teams. I don't think they would add Pittsburgh. I think that would be done. I just named you the 30 that they would go for at that point. But yeah, the Big Ten could go 30 deep before it's all said and done, guys. And at that point, the SEC would really have to make some counter moves. But we're going to have to see how this all plays out. We don't know yet, but it's all just very interesting how this is all working. Portions of the program are brought to you by Quality Tire Pros, serving Chattanooga community since 1957. All major brands of tires, full service automotive brake alignments, oil changes, and more. QualityTirePros.com. Walk in and say, "Hey, Bo, Off the Hook Sports sent you." QualityTirePros.com. When we come back, time for some picks and bets. After a really bad week last week, I'm going to try my hand at it again. Stick with us. 2 minutes. Off the Hook Sports.
A beacon of hope in a world of high prices. Look to the skies, Knoxville. Super Savings is here. Ted Russell Ford is East Tennessee's #1 volume Ford dealer.
Right now, get 0% APR, 0 down, and 0 payments for 90 days on select models, plus 2 years complimentary maintenance.
Come see the Super Dealer today at either Ted Russell Ford location, Parkside Drive, or Kingston Pike.
Sports Treasures in North Knoxville is one of the South's largest sports cards and memorabilia dealers, featuring over 10 million sports cards from vintage to modern. Sports Treasures carries a full line of hobby boxes, singles, autographed memorabilia, Tennessee Vol collectibles, fan cave decorations, and so much more. See a museum full of collectibles at Sports Treasures, 4819 North Broadway in Fountain City, and Sports Treasures on Facebook. Sports Treasures, where the real sports fan goes to shop.
Community banking is about location and much more. It's about family. We reside in your community. We are a part of your community. At Commercial Bank, our commitment extends beyond the walls of our branches. It's displayed each day in the opportunities we provide, the money we give back, and the time we commit, all to help improve the lives of the people, families, and businesses that make our communities great. Commercial Bank, life made better.
Now in its 45th year, the second and third generations continue Joe Newbert's commitment.
His vision of what this business needed to be, we still try to live up to that.
Joe Newbert Collision Center.
Are you ready to get strong? At NFC, we offer top-notch weight training and functional fitness, so you can build strength and improve your performance. Join today at nfc1.com or stop by any one of our 7 East Tennessee locations.
Welcome back to Off the Hook Sports. Hit that like and subscribe button, ring the bell, turn on your notifications. It is time for the stat of the day, and the stat of the day is this. Tennessee football has won its opener in 5 straight seasons. They're going for 6 this weekend. That followed 2 straight season opening losses in 2018 and 2019, one to West Virginia, the other to Georgia State. Before those 2 season opening losses, they had won 9 straight openers from 2009 to 2017. But they had lost 2 straight in 2007 and 2008. Before 2007, they had won 12 straight openers from 95 to 2006. So they've had longer streaks even in their decade of dysfunction. Josh Heupel's trying to get them back. But that Georgia, it should be, let's be honest, it should at the very least be 6 straight openers. They never should have lost to Georgia State. Stat of the day is brought to you by Peak IV Hydration. In South Knoxville and Sevierville, live your life to the fullest, hydrate, rejuvenate, and elevate your health with Peak IV Hydration, peakivhydration.com. Link is in the chat. And I want to get to a super chat, by the way, from Timothy McGee, who says, hey, way it's going, why not SEC and Big Ten go to 68-team conferences? Well, there are some teams, Timothy, that just won't be valuable, but they might combine to have 68 soon enough. We'll see. Portions of the program are brought to you by the UPS Store Hardin Valley, helping individuals and small businesses, wide range of products and services, locally owned and operated, 10629 Hardin Valley Road. It is time for our picks and bets. And I have to hang my head in shame. Because good Lord, was I awful last week on my picks and bets. Just like last year, I started 0-5. Yes, 0-5 on my picks and bets last week. And that was just awful. This week, I'm going more all in. It's going to be hot or cold, and here's how we're going to play hot or cold. Let me give you the rules of my picks and bets for the year. Last year, I just did best bets because each week I will pick the over-under and the spread for every single game involving an SEC team and every single game involving 2 top 25 teams. Then I will pick my over, my under, my money line, my cover, and my fail to cover. My best bet for all 5 of those for each week too. I will track my score on all of these as time goes on each week. So we got a lot going on. I'm 0-5. I'm ready to make a comeback now. Let's get rolling. It's time for best bets. It's time for bets of the week. I will play hot or cold on this. I'm going to do every single game. The way I'm going to play hot or cold is I'm going to and it's going to be a lot of fun, guys. I'm going to go through every game involving an SEC team, and I'm going to say if I'm hot or cold on that SEC team covering that week. And once I do that, I will also give my prediction on exactly what the over-under of the game will be. So let's get rolling. This is Hot or Cold, brought to you by Sports Treasures, carrying over 5 million sports treasures and so much more. Follow more on Facebook for the best sports memorabilia, daily updates. Facebook.com/Sports Treasures TN. Let's play some Hot or Cold, and we roll first tonight. Missouri is a 40.5 favorite against Central Arkansas. I'm sorry, a 39.5 favorite. Missouri is a 39.5 favorite against Central Arkansas. I'm cold on Missouri covering that. I don't think they're going to cover 39.5 against Missouri. And I mean, against Central Arkansas, Eli Drinkwitz is bringing in a new quarterback, and he usually doesn't win games in blowouts like that. So I'm extremely cold on Missouri being able to beat Central Arkansas by 39.5 points. Central Arkansas is going to cover that spread. Now, as far as the over-unders go, excuse me. I'm having trouble talking right now, guys. I apologize. As far as the over-under goes, that one is set at, if I believe, 52.5. I'm taking the under. I think Missouri is going to be a little sloppy. And with that in mind, I am taking the under in that one. All right. Also tonight, Auburn and Baylor. I'm hot on Auburn covering the 2-point spread. I think they'll be better with Jackson Arnold. I'm not extremely high on them, but I am hot on them covering the 2-point spread. I think Auburn covers a 2-point spread. I think they show a new offense tonight. And so with that in mind, I think that allows them to cover. And I think that allows them to hit the over, by the way. So yes, I'm actually pretty hot on them covering the 2-point spread. Mississippi State and Southern Miss. I'm hot on Mississippi State covering the 12.5 point spread. Excuse me. I'm hot on that spread is now at 13.5. Mississippi State is favored to cover. Mississippi State is favored by 13.5. I'm extremely hot on them covering the 13.5 point spread. I think they will cover it pretty easily. I think their offense will take off too. And so with that, I'm also taking the over. The over that is set at 61.5, and I think they will cover that. Honestly, relatively easily. So we'll see how that goes. Tennessee, Syracuse, the big one we've all been talking about. I'm hot on Tennessee covering. I think Tennessee covers the 13.5 point spread. I do. I think Tennessee covers the 13.5 point spread, and I think the game hits the over. I think Tennessee reveals a new offense, and I think while there's a lot of new talent on offense on both sides, I think it's enough for them to go over 50.5. This is Josh Heupel's offense we're talking about here. I refuse to believe that it can't go over 50.5. All right, Texas and Ohio State. This is a brutal one. Arch Manning's debut. Ohio State is favored by 1.5. Playing at Ohio State and me not believing in Steve Sarkisian, I'm just going to be honest with you guys. I'm hot. I'm cold on Texas. I think Ohio State covers the spread at 1.5. I think the game does hit the under. It's going to hit the under 51.5. Both sides breaking in new talent on offense. I do believe in Arch Manning long term, but I think this game specifically is just going to be too brutal of an opener for him. So I think Ohio State covers. I think they win this game like 17-10, quite honestly. And then everybody freaks out about Arch Manning unfairly. This is a brutal start for him. Toledo and Kentucky. Kentucky favored by 11.5. While I have questions about Kentucky long term, I think they'll cover this one too. In case you guys haven't noticed, I'm very high on covers. I think Kentucky will cover the spread against Toledo. The over-under at 48.5, though, I'm going with the spread's on 9.5. But yeah, I think Kentucky covers the 9.5 point spread. I'm going to go with the over 47, believe it or not. I think there's going to be just enough scoring, even with Kentucky's horrid offense, for this game to hit the over. I see something like 31-17, something like that. So I got Kentucky covering, believe it or not, on that one. All right, keeping it moving. Marshall and Georgia. Well, Marshall's talking a lot this week, and that's playing a mistake. So even with Gunnar Stockton there, I don't think Marshall needs to be talking the way they've been talking. So I think Georgia blows them out. They're favored by 38.5. I think Georgia covers that. I think they cover that maybe in the first half, funny enough. And I'm going to go with the under 54.5 because I don't think Georgia's defense is going to let Marshall score. So I'm actually going with the under 54.5, even though I do think Georgia covers. Alabama, Florida State. Okay, guys. Alabama covers the 13.5 point spread. Alabama is favored by 13.5 at Florida State. I think they cover, and I think they cover easily. I'm hot on them, and the reason I think they cover is because I think Ty Simpson proves just how elite he finally is in Kalen DeBoer's offense, and with that eliteness, this game is going to hit the over. You can book it. Arkansas, Alabama, A&M. Arkansas is favored by 42 points. I'm cold. Alabama A&M is going to cover that. Arkansas is not going to win by 42. Sorry. I just don't believe enough in Sam Pittman yet. So I think Alabama A&M covers the 42-point spread against Arkansas. The over-under is set at 60. I'm probably going to go over with that because I think Alabama A&M will no, actually, yeah, I'm going to go under. I'd stay away from that one. I'm going to go under 60. I think Arkansas won't score enough. That's why they won't cover. So I'm going with the under in that one. Keeping it going. Illinois State and Oklahoma. God, I hate these FBS games, but I know they're necessary. Oklahoma is favored by 35.5. I think Oklahoma is massively overrated, even with this new offense that they have. I just can't believe in Brent Venables. And with that, I think Illinois State's going to cover. And the offensive woes continue. So I also think this game is going to hit the under. Yeah, that's right. I think Illinois State's going to cover the 35.5 point spread. And I think this game is going to hit the under, and people are going to, it's an under 59.5. People are going to have red flags on Brent Venables as time goes on. Long Island University at Florida. Florida favored by 44.5. DJ Lagway, I think, is overrated. We don't know how healthy he is. With those two things in mind, I think Florida fails to cover that, and I think the offense sputters. And so with that, I think Long Island, I think these FCS schools are all going to cover, it looks like, against the SEC schools. I think Long Island University covers the 44.5 point spread, and I think the game is going to hit the under 54.5. That's my take. Under 54.5, Long Island University, the 44.5 point spread. Okay, still going because a lot of games this week. Woo! Charleston Southern at Vanderbilt. Oh my gosh, this is the game of the week, guys. No, I'm kidding. Vanderbilt's favored by 35.5. I think Vanderbilt's going to cover that. I do. I think Diego Pavia wants to make a statement with his moxie, and so they're going to purposely run up the score. And because of that, I think Vanderbilt's going to cover, and I think the game's going to hit the over 46.5. So I like that line. I'm high on both. All right. Still going because we got so many games to cover this week. Texas San Antonio at Texas A&M. Texas A&M is favored by 23.5, and I think they cover. I think this offense hits a new era, and I think they cover and absolutely dominate with this offense in Mike Elko. And I think the game is going to hit the under, though, because I don't think Texas and San Antonio is going to score, believe it or not. So I'm hot on Texas A&M covering. All right, moving on. Finally, one more bad game. Oh, you guys are going to hate me. I have to do it, though. Georgia State and Ole Miss. Oh, just want to vomit talking about that. We know what Georgia State has done to Tennessee. They can be dangerous in openers. I'm taking Georgia State plus 34.5. I am cold on Ole Miss covering because I think they have new talent and they're going to be working some things in. They're going to struggle a little bit, and the sloppiness will result in Georgia State covering, but it'll be because both teams score a lot. So I'm actually on the over 59.5 in that game. LSU and Clemson. Clemson is favored by 4.5. Over under set at 57.5. I think LSU covers. Yes, I think LSU covers that. That might be my money line, guys. I think LSU might win that game. I'm hot on them doing it. I think the over-under is 57.5. I think they cover because I think Cade Klubnik was very overrated with how he finished last season. I'm still high on that. And I think LSU finally gets a big win under Brian Kelly. They're due for one. They get it with their defense because Clemson quarterback Cade Klubnik is exposed as overrated because I thought he has been the whole time. And finally, South Carolina and Virginia Tech. I'm going South Carolina covering the 7.5 point spread. I think they're a fair. I think Virginia Tech takes a leap forward. Don't get me wrong, but I'm just very high on Lenore Sellers. But with both of them taking a leap forward, specifically offensively, the over/under at 51.5. I think the game goes over 51.5. So South Carolina, Virginia Tech. I'm very, very high on that game going over 51.5. Now, there's obviously one more big, notable top 25 matchup we've got to talk about, and that is Miami, Notre Dame. This is real tough for me because I don't know where to go with this, but I think I'm going to lean. I think I'm going to lean Notre Dame. I think I'm going to lean Notre Dame covering the 2.5 point spread, even at Miami. I don't think Carson Beck is a fit for Mario Cristobal's offense. Notre Dame is a very, very good football program. So I've got Notre Dame covering the 2.5 point spread. And I have the under because this is a defensive team on both sides. Notre Dame's a defensive team, and Mario Cristobal's offense won't be run well by Carson Beck. So I've got the under. Hot or cold, brought to you by Sports Treasures, carrying over 5 million sports treasures and so much more. Follow more on Facebook for the best sports memorabilia, daily updates. Facebook.com/Sports Treasures TN. Facebook.com/Sports Treasures TN.
Sports Treasures in North Knoxville is one of the South's largest sports cards and memorabilia dealers, featuring over 10 million sports cards from vintage to modern. Sports Treasures carries a full line of hobby boxes, singles, autographed memorabilia, Tennessee Vol collectibles, fan cave decorations, and so much more. See a museum full of collectibles at Sports Treasures, 4819 North Broadway in Fountain City, and Sports Treasures on Facebook. Sports Treasures, where the real sports fan goes to shop.
All right, my best bets of the week. One is tonight, by the way, and it is the underdog bet. I think South Florida covers the South Florida is hosting Boise State with Alex Golish. Boise State favored by 5.5. I don't think South Florida wins, but I think they actually do cover, believe it or not. I think South Florida covers that 5.5 point spread, which is shocking, I think, to a lot of people. My cover for the favorite of the week, I'm going all in, and this may shock some people, but I think it's Tennessee. I think Tennessee is the likeliest team to cover this week at the 13.5. I think Tennessee will actually end up blowing out Syracuse. I think there's a lot of new wrinkles and things they can show, and those will reveal themselves when they play this week. So I'm actually going to say I'm high on Tennessee covering. Yeah, that's right. I think Tennessee covers. The over-under of the week. The over of the week. What is my over of the week? It's Alabama, Florida State. Alabama, Florida State is the best over of the week at 50.5. Mike Norvell's offense, I think, will have a bit of a renaissance, and Alabama, being in Kalen DeBoer's identity, will go off with Ty Simpson. So I'm pretty high on that being my over of the week. I'm actually very, very big on that being my over of the week. My under of the week. For those who aren't ready, my biggest under of the week, I'm probably going to land. This is a tough one. I'm not exactly sure where to go for my under of the week, but I think my under of the week, I'm going to land on. Yeah, man, this is actually a really tough one. I'm doing this in real time with you guys, by the way, as I set this up. I don't know if you guys know this. I'm actually doing this in real time setting up what I think will be the biggest over-under of the week and the biggest all of those things. But I think my obvious under of the week, believe it or not, I think my biggest under of the week is going to be LSU and Clemson. LSU and Clemson, I think Kate Klubnik is massively overrated. And I've thought that for a while, and we know some of LSU's issues. I think under 57.5. I think LSU and Clemson with an under 57.5 is a real. I actually think it's an easy one, honestly. I think LSU and Clemson is probably one of the easiest ones. So yeah, no, LSU and Clemson is my under 57.5. That's my under of the week. I think that there's a I don't really see how LSU and Clemson, I don't really see how that game gets over. So what's my money line of the week? Money line of the week is very different. And, with this type of stuff, it's always brutal at the start of the year because there's just so many games and you don't know where to go. But my money line of the week is going to be, I think it's going to be LSU. I'm sticking with LSU as my money line of the week to pull off an upset. LSU, I think, actually beats Clemson. So I got LSU as my money line and my over of the week. I think LSU is going to upset Clemson. That is my biggest take. The show represented by Banks & Jones, Tennessee's trial attorney. Play to win. Why settle? Banks & Jones, led by T. Scott Jones, banksandjones.com. We broadcast live every weekday at 10 a.m. Eastern from the Ted Russell Ford Lincoln Studio. Ted Russell Ford Lincoln is your home for the finest vehicles in Knoxville. New and used, East Tennessee's largest Ford and Lincoln volume dealer. Hit that like and subscribe button. Ring the bell. Turn on your notifications. Tell a friend. Building something great here at Off the Hook Sports. Want you to be a part of it. It's almost here. Football season is almost here. Barely over 48 hours away. We got one more show before it happens. I'll see you guys all tomorrow at 10 a.m. Eastern. Thank you guys all for tuning in with Caleb Calhoun. This has been a presentation of Off the Hook Sports.